And that is how we were able to evolve in doing what the older generation unfortunately have not been able to do. So once again, I'm very moved sometime in September. I'm also grateful to my landlord so that they could, share their expertise, their experience, and so many period of service to their respective countries. So I'm grateful to all of you, sir. Also express my special gratitude to the United States Institute of Peace, going to so very kindly agreed to sponsor this project for the initial 2 rounds, and I also promised to look into the prospect of grateful, sir. All of them in their individual capacities, whether you see them here or you don't, have done a remarkable job in putting this dialogue together. So making preparations for bringing this dialogue. It was an intoxicating input of ideas and suggestions, that came from all of it. I'm grateful to the Indian delegates, who worked with measurable commitment to really come up with an outline of what we should be pursuing, what we need to be pursuing in the future. During the course of the proceeding together and then share them with you, maybe in the 4th round, which is going to be like in the afternoon. So very rewarding sessions yesterday, very productive. That it's a remarkable opportunity at this juncture for the 2 countries to converge together. Prime Minister and Khan, and I think if they meet and if they're able to get the conditions and the environment is right, I hope that she will be able to take these sentiments and sentiments expressed by other people to a leadership in the party and to the Foreign Office and encouragement to the Regional Peace Institute to conduct and continue conducting such kind of bilateral dialogues. My friend Hasan,
dignitaries, delegates, welcome to the next round of India-Pakistan dialogue. The concept behind the dialogue was in accordance with USIP agreements within and across national boundaries, but we believe that USIP pursues peace, works in more than 53 countries in the world, one of them being Pakistan. We've had an office in Pakistan since 2013, and we've been in peacemaking efforts, including various dialogues that in partnership with or resolving some of the conflicts, long-standing conflicts that we have seen in the region. Inclusion of young voices, which are often underrepresented in policy-making circles, and I think in Pakistan and India, both with very young populations, of influencers in various fields of life to have their say.
And Abbas Sahiba is in addition to shouldering the responsibilities which are assigned to her as part of Parliament, and I have had the pleasure of working with her. And she's one of the leading lights that the party
got interested because it said beyond politics and politics. And I said, well, this is the place for me to speak, because let me tell you, unlike the subcontinent history, I am not a politician by birth, and neither did I ever dream to be a politician. In fact, I grew up hating politicians, looking down at them and thinking that the most useless, the most corrupt, and the most inventive people become politicians. But then, in my growth in Pakistan, and I have had a real pleasure of crossing the border and going to India as well, and I have a lot of friends over there. I discovered something which is a common universal principle, that if you want change and you don't like the way things are, then you need to be the change you want the world to be. And just because somebody like me, was educated and had a very good time in the corporate world, in the developing world, get down into a field and try to bring a change. So that's how I came into politics about 12 years ago, and it doesn't mean that it's been a very happy story. Uh, uh, there is a lot of things which seem frustrating, which seem unsolvable, which seem undeserving, which seem impossible. And there are nights when I go back home and I say, what have I done? What am I doing? And then I look back and I say, okay, whatever I'm doing, whatever I've done, it is my contribution, no matter how little it is. And when the country has put me on this stage and given me so much, it's time for me to give back to the country. And I find this sentiment in India as well, because I have a lot of friends over there, and we talk constantly about the way things are in both the countries. One of the reasons why I joined this party was because of the Prime Minister's, I think, 22-year-old slogan of peace. And he was thrashed, and he was bashed all over the world. He was called names because he would insist that all conflicts have to be resolved through peace and dialogue, even with enemies. Because sustainable conflict resolution does not come with wars. And that's one of the reasons which attracted somebody like me who was not from a political background. And I think that soundbite, after 20 years, has resonated with a lot of circles who were criticizing it. And today we see wars which have been fought for 17 years in our neighborhood absolutely being termed as a human waste, an economic waste, and just a degradation of humanity per se. So it reminds me of a friend of mine who's an American, and she came to visit me in Lahore, and I took her to the Lahore fort. She loved it. And, you know, Americans are very innocent, and a lot of times not aware of the complications that go on in the regional world, far away, far removed from their homes. So she suggested an idea to me, and she said, okay, Anjali, I love the Lahore fort, but you know, I want to see the Taj Mahal, so let's plan a trip to the Taj Mahal. And she was there for 10 days. So I told her, I said, well, we can't plan a trip for Taj Mahal because there are problems. And she said, what are the problems? And I started mentioning them. And she said, how silly. And then she said, what can we do? I said, you'll have to go back to US, and if you apply from there, you have to do this, and then it'll become easier for you. So she said, how stupid. And then we went on, and she said, isn't this so ridiculous that you people live side by side, you share a history and a culture, and you have to go 20,000 miles across to even make yourself felt that you want to see something which is a wonder of the world? And I smiled. And I said, yes, it is stupid. But then politics sometimes is not rational and very understandable. And it's our job to make it rational and understandable. Because there are a lot of people across the border who have the same sentiments. There are more people across the border in both countries who have the same sentiment and who feel that these walls and borders in a world which is becoming borderless and seamless are just mental, political barriers to serve the interest of a few. So, if we look at the youth, I think that is the hope on both sides of the border. In Pakistan, we have about 60% of our population under 30 years, and in India, I believe it's 50% of the population under 30 years. So together we have about 700 million people, young, bright, talented, some of them sitting over here, many sitting outside in cities, in Karachi, in Mumbai, in, Madras, in Chennai, in so many other areas, and dying to get together and create the synergy that is possible and probable and a potential unrealized. So this youth is the element, and when Raoof told me that it's all about youth, I was supposed to go back today somewhere, but I said, no, I'm going to stay back and I'm going to talk about it. Because all my life I've worked with youth. So when I joined the party, PTI had no seats in the parliament. 0 seats. I joined it about 12 years ago. And it was a party which was almost finished because in that year, the party had boycotted the elections. And when a political party boycotts elections, it's literally like a factory opening up and not producing a single thing. Sooner or later, you'll shut down. So when I came into the party, and I remember the experienced politicians were there, and I gave a presentation because I'm from the corporate sector with all my experience in the World Bank and in consulting and coaching with the Pepsis and the Cokes of the world. So I started saying, look, what we've got to do is, if we want to win the elections, we've got to target the youth of Pakistan. And there was a silence within my party because, and then a comment came from my own party, and they said that, Madam, and most of you understand Urdu also, Bibi, ये कोक और पेप्सी नहीं है, ये सियासत है, politics है. We have to appeal to 22 million people, 220 million people, at that time it was 180 million people. So, you're talking about youth. Youth are not even registered as voters. They don't vote. They are not interested. So my next question to them was, if they are 60% of the population and they're not interested, how can we make them interested? That's our job. And that's how it started. And at that time, social media was at a very nascent level. And our party didn't have money to go on the electronic media, so by default, they agreed with my philosophy that we should use the social media because it's free of cost and we don't have money to go by the traditional channels. Why I'm mentioning this is because our party in government is a case study of how the traditional entrenched parties were challenged by appealing to the youth. Because nobody could dream in the subcontinent that the two established parties would ever have a jolt. And it was because we appealed to the youth, made them interested to take the country in their hands, that they in turn brought the change. And that's what we need to do with India and Pakistan. 770 million people, I mean, just imagine the whole 27 countries of European Union combined, old, young, children combined are 350 million people, barely. And you have two countries, just the youth population is 770 million people. No bloc in the world, no market in the world can match the subcontinent. And perhaps that's why they don't want it to come up. Maybe that's what they want. But why do we want what they want? Why don't we want what we should want? And that's where we need to think and spread the word here and in the other country on the potential of the youth. Because we can't go back in history. Whatever ever happened in history is history. Because the lesson is that if you live in history, you are history. And I always remember Dan Zedra's quote. I love that quote, and I keep on motivating myself through it. He said that nobody can go back and make a brand new start, my friend. Nobody can go back and make a brand new start, my friend. But we can move forward and create a brand new end. So we have that power to create a brand new end. And that's what we need to do. So, when my friend, American friend, she was perturbed and she was talking about, she asked me, what's wrong? And I told her that we speak the same language, we share the same history, we love the same things. Jalebi, paratha, lassi. Nobody in the world can enjoy the way Indians and Pakistanis do. And no matter where we are in the world, we hanker for it. You go down Lahore and you'll find Amritsari Sweet House. Most of our parents and grandparents have migrated from each other's countries. Nobody loves music the way we do of each other's, movies of the way we do each other's. And we also share one great religion, cricket. Cricket is a religion in both countries. They're so passionate. And it was very sweet. Youth today, and some of you are sitting over here, are the millennials, right? So you represent the millennials. And I used to teach a course at the university on how to manage the millennials. Because the millennials are different from the baby boomers. You people are the millennials born in this generation. So what are the millennials like? Millennials are what I call SACC, C-A-A-C-C. So C is they're confident. Today's youth is much more confident than we were. A is for ambitious. They really want to go ahead. Then A is for achievement oriented. They want to see results and in a short time. And then C, very creative. And then the last C is they're change oriented. So they're not going to do what their fathers and their mothers did. Our children are different from us. And they're not going to be led just because I was a doctor, or I was an MBA, or I was an engineer. My children are going to be the same. They're going to rebel, and they have. And they have a right to do so. So, my daughter, traditionally, she went for education, she went abroad. So she went to the Warwick University, she did strategy, and she did all that sort of stuff. And she comes back to Pakistan. And she says, Mom, Amma, I don't want to work in a corporate world. So I said, okay, so what do you want to do? And typically, because that's what I used to coach and train, I said, okay, beta, what do you love doing? She looked at me and she said, Sach bataun? Maine kaha, beta, sach batana. She said, Mom, I love watching cricket. And the rest of the family was sitting over there, looked at her and looked at me and said, हाँ बेटा वो अच्छी हॉबी है, कभी कभी क्रिकेट मैच होता है तो देखना चाहिए, but that's not a career because तुम तो क्रिकेट खेलती नहीं हो. So she looked at me and I said to her, हाँ but क्रिकेट देखने के भी पैसे होते हैं, क्रिकेट पे लिखने के भी पैसे होते हैं, क्रिकेट पे बोलने के भी पैसे होते हैं. And that's when I encouraged her to do what she loves. And start reading on it, start writing on it. That's about 4 years ago, and there was a whole family, कि इतने पैसे लगा के बाहर भेजा और strategy में पढ़ के आई और खानदान में ये अब चली है और the typical parental stuff. So anyway, to cut the story short, she is today in 4 years Pakistan's first female sports analyst. And in the current International Cricket Cup that is being held in UK, they selected 4 people from the world to cover the cup online as a team of insiders. And she was one of them, and she's covering it from there. So, but she sent me something very sweet from London. She sent me a picture, and she said, Mom, there was a girl standing with her. She said, "This is Richa." And she said, "This is my Indian friend." And she said, "You know, we met online. We've never met. 17 years ago, when we were kids, she was crazy about cricket and I was crazy about cricket. And she used to write to me that, you know, I'm the only girl in my house who is so crazy about cricket. And I used to write to her, I'm the only girl who's crazy about cricket." And so she's come over here. She's developed her own company also. And I'm in this line also. And we just went online and we said, "You're in London, I'm in London, let's meet up." And so they met up for the first time in 17 years, took this picture, and sent it to me. And I thought that is symbolic of what the missed opportunities are on both sides of the border. So, what are we missing out on? We're missing out on trade. We're missing out on people-to-people connect. Because let me tell you, politicians are not as powerful as the people are. That quotation I love, that the power of the people is always more than the people in power. And if we can get the 770 million youth together and create the paradigm shift in the politicians, everybody has to gain. The World Bank official figures say that the trade between Pakistan and India is 1.7 billion, and we are missing out on 38.5 billion potential. And that's just the rough potential, you know, 40 billion trade is possible between the two countries. I again remember long time ago when relationship was much better, there was a Delhi fair. A friend of mine who deals in shoes, she had a stall over there. So she wanted to sell kussas because we know kussas of Pakistan are very popular and both Indians and Pakistanis wear it on all occasions. So she said to me, you know, I'm taking this, how much should I take? So, you know, you are trying to be very conservative. Somebody said 1,000 pairs, somebody said 800 pairs, because obviously she didn't know the demand at that time. So we said, okay, doesn't matter, you take 1,200. And she was like dying, you know, how I'm going to sell off 1,200. It was a week long. On the third day, she called me. She said, Anjali, can you ship me more kussas? I said, what? Why? She said, it's the third day and I've run out of them. Everything has been sold. And she said, you know, I was wearing one. People literally tore it off my feet. I had to sell that also. And vice versa. The Indian stuff in Pakistan, we all know how it sells. So that is the trade potential that we are missing. And that is why it's important for the future of the region, because once you are interdependent on trade, on culture, on communication, on cricket, then the politicians are restricted to carry out what they think they should be carrying out. So for me, if you talk about what do I think, my Prime Minister, as you know, in his first speech, the first thing that he said, in his acceptance speech, we want peace with India. You put one step forward, we'll take it to 2 steps. And he's been continuously saying that. And I'll tell you about my Prime Minister also. When his inauguration took place and we were talking to him about, you know, whom he would like to call from his very intimate circle of friends and family. And he said, you know, my best friend needs to be there. So we said, okay, so who's your best friend? I think it was Vijay something, I don't remember the exact name. And we were like shocked. He said, you know, in my college days in Oxford, he was my best friend. And I want him to be there on this important occasion of my life. And you know, his best friend was busy in I don't know where, he's a big shot somewhere now, left everything and came for his inauguration. So this is the sentiment that we carry over here. We have in the parliament, obviously these parliaments need a lot of improvement, we all know that. It's a very early time, we are hoping for, but I was looking at the parliament demographics, Pakistan parliament demographics. Out of 342 members, for the first time in the history of Pakistan, 107 parliamentarians are under 40.
107 parliamentarians are under 40. In a cabinet, the two most popular and the best performing ministers are not the traditional politicians and ministers with 20 years, 30 years of experience, but a young debater from a college who came into a party and is now the minister of two ministries, communication and postal office, and in 10 months has transformed the postal office, Murad Said. And the other one has just become the federal minister from Minister of State. He's been promoted to federal minister. He's the federal minister for economic affairs. Two young guys, first time in assembly, first time in politics. So that's the hope. When you look at all the 38 other members, you feel, okay, that's the same thing. But these are the hopes. And I'm sure the same is in the other part of the border as well. So what is my dream? And I would go back to my, one of my political role models, which is Dr. Martin Luther King, who talked about peace and who talked about how to make this world more united. That famous speech, I have a dream, which changed America, which changed the world. So I just borrow from him, and I would just say that I have a dream that one day Pakistanis and Indians can saunter across the borders and together go in Delhi and in Lahore and have a paratha and jalebi together. I have a dream that Pakistanis and Indians can go in a concert and listen to Arjit Singh in Delhi and to Atif Aslam in Lahore, and together in both the cities. I have a dream that one day in Feroz Shah Kotla Cricket Stadium, we just sit in a bus and see the great Virat Kohli playing his cover drives. And similar, bring back our Indian friends in the bus to Gaddafi Stadium and see Babar Azam poetry in action. I have a dream that one day South Asian people form a union bigger than European Union for the benefit of the people of this country. I'm a daydreamer. So ये नहीं होगा कि रात गई बात गई, क्योंकि मुझे दिन को ख्वाब आते हैं. And I will end up this by my again favorite Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, you know, hate cannot end hate, only love can. Revenge cannot end revenge, only forgiveness can. And war cannot end war, only peace can. Thank you very much.